MrBeast recently listed the Mormon Church as a diamond sponsor on his philanthropy website, and from what I can tell, this relationship is just getting cozier and cozier.
This actually makes a whole lot of sense if you understand LDS culture and if you understand MrBeast. The two are very similar. LDS culture has been capitalist since basically the very beginning. You can look into Joseph Smith's business dealings, for instance in Kirtland, Ohio, where he purchased a lot of land on credit and then he wasn't able to pay for it, so he started the Kirtland Safety Society based off of false collateral, which eventually failed in 1837. What's also really interesting is that while he's actively developing Kirtland, Ohio, Joseph Smith is also preaching that it's going to be destroyed soon in the second coming of Jesus Christ. He calls Kirtland a Babylon, and then he says that when Jesus Christ comes back, the promised land will be in Zion, Missouri. So you can see two things in action here. Essentially, you can see his capitalist actions, but you can also see an apocalyptic theology being preached at the same time, which also fuels into consumerism and in many cases maximalism. There's other elements of capitalism within the LDS Church that still persist to this day. For instance, this is from D. Michael Quinn, where he says, both the presiding patriarch and local state patriarchs charged a fee. In the 1840s, the fee was $1 per patriarchal blessing at Nauvoo. By the end of the 19th century, it had increased to $2 per blessing. Continued, he says, patriarchal blessing fees ended in 1902, although patriarchs were allowed to accept unsolicited donations. Not until 1943 did church authorities prohibit patriarchs from accepting gratuities for giving blessings. Brigham Young was also said to enrich himself by taking interest-free loans from the church. He was the richest man in Utah when he died, however he still owed the church $1 million upon his death. He had stake in multiple business ventures such as a ferryboat company, a railroad company, multiple companies related to lumber, iron, and sugar beets, as well as a whiskey distillery. And more recently, there was the opening of City Creek Mall in 2012, which was funded by the LDS Church, and allegedly they used about $1.2 billion of tithing money in order to fund its construction. However, that is not confirmed, and the church denies this. Famously, the president at the time, Thomas S. Monson, said, "Let's go shopping" at the ribbon-cutting ceremony, which again drew controversy for its capitalistic nature. Today, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is valued at about $265 billion, with about $31 billion in annual revenue. About $24 billion of that comes from real estate and other for-profit ventures, and $7 billion comes from tithes and donations from members. About $6 billion every year goes to operating expenses, and $1.4 billion every single year goes to charity. So what's really interesting is that LDS culture champions capitalism. Its leaders are typically the richest people in the church, but also it basically teaches this apocalyptic theology that makes it so that there's no point to be environmentally conscious, which again fuels more consumerism. And you can read about it in the Book of Mormon itself. In Mormon 8:31 it says, "Yea, it shall come in a day where there shall be great pollutions upon the face of the earth. There shall be murders and robbings and lying and deceivings and whoredoms and all manner of abominations. When there shall be many who will say, Do this or do that, and it mattereth not, for the Lord will uphold such at the last day. But woe unto such, for they are in the gall of bitterness and in the bonds of iniquity." And this verse basically states not to worry about what's happening on earth because Jesus Christ will come back and fix things. So it makes perfect sense to me that the LDS Church and MrBeast would work together because they both use the same technique, using charity in order to fund capitalistic causes, with MrBeast starting by handing out strangers money on his YouTube channel while also funding gaming videos, to later becoming a game show host, the LDS Church relying upon tithes in order to fund ventures like the Kirtland Safety Society, or other things such as sending members off to California to mine for gold so they could fund the church, to now essentially becoming a for-profit business. And so it's fascinating to me, but it makes so much sense because they are very much the same. And if you're going to disagree with me and say that the LDS Church is not a capitalistic venture, need I remind you that only 3% of its annual revenue actually goes to charity. Imagine donating $100 to charity and only $3 actually goes towards helping someone. In my opinion, that's not a very effective charity. There are better charities out there.